All right, the Homeless World Cup takes place in Mexico City from November 13th up to 18th. Ireland have always been a fixture at this, thanks to Sean Kavanagh, who's the man sitting at the end of this row here. And we've also got two former players who have appeared at past World Cups. We have John Farrell, who played 2 years ago in Glasgow, and also we have Tara McNeill, who also played, I think it's 2 years ago in Norway, wasn't it? A little bit further afield than Glasgow. So welcome all to studio. Before we get to chat about your World Cup experiences, kind of want to talk a little bit about the street leagues, because you can't really talk about the street leagues, or can't talk about the Homeless World Cup without touching on the street leagues and how that underpins the team that actually goes over. And Sean, you've been kind of the driving force of this. So what was the inspiration behind bringing it? Because it's all the way back to about 2003, 4, 5.
Yeah, well, back in 2003, in my role as editor of the Big Issue magazine, I was aware there was a lot of young people out there who felt they were disenfranchised from society, that society had nothing to offer them. And I was trying to get them to relate to something. So during one of the talks I had with one of the lads, he said to me, I always wanted to play football, but I had no one to take me to the matches. And I thought to myself, how sad is that, you know? Mm. And then it got me thinking, what would my life be like without the support mechanisms that most people take for granted, the benefit of a decent education, sound family background, and so forth and so on. So I determined that we'd have to do something. And coincidentally, at the same time, the International Network of Street Papers, of which the Big Issue was a member, came up with this initiative of having a Homeless World Cup to show what homeless people could achieve and to put a human face on the people's perception of people who are homeless. So that was great. So with that in mind, I contacted all the different agencies and asked them, did they know any people that would be interested in representing Ireland in a soccer five-a-side tournament, street soccer, that was being held in Austria that year. So I expected maybe about 20 lads to turn up. So I was amazed. There was about 120 turned up, which is quite overwhelming.
It's really good, yeah.
So it was impossible to pick a side there on the day. So what we did was we arranged to have trials over a 4-week period, and up in St. James's kind of sports ground up in Crumlin. And I asked around, and Dundalk manager, he was Bohemians manager at the time, Stephen Kenny, came up. Fair play to me, didn't know us from Adam, came up and gave us a dig out, helped us with the coaching and so forth. So at the end of the 4-week period, we knew we'd have to pick a side. It wasn't going to be easy, and we reckoned there was going to be a lot of disappointment. But we were quite amazed that people weren't really too disappointed with not being picked, because they reckoned they weren't of a fitness level, skillful level at that stage. But they were more disappointed that they'd nothing to do, nowhere to go, because for 4 Wednesdays on the trot, this was a fixture. They built up a friendship, camaraderie among everybody, and it was something they looked forward to. So that was their main disappointment, that they hadn't got that to look forward to. But we had to get on with the job. We brought a team to the Homeless World Cup, which was in Graz in Austria. And the lads were full of it, you know. Some of them most of them had never been away before, had never been on an airplane. And they were all very quiet and tentative to begin with. But we noticed over a period of the tournament that there was changes developing among the lads. They began to feel more confident among themselves. They began to talk about a future that didn't stigmatise them. They were all, they were full of optimism, and they were treated differently. So they weren't, as I say, stigmatised by that past. People saw them as representing Ireland, and they were put up on a pedestal, and they were full of it. Now, the reality was, football terms, they weren't up to the standard because we had very little lead in time. But that wasn't why we were there. We were there to participate. We were there for the experience. But the reality was, when we came back to Ireland, 2 weeks was never going to be enough to change people's perception of how they were going to get on or their ambition. So when they got off the plane, 3 of them were straight into Cardboard City, as it was at the time. One of the lads we had to bring down to a Garda station because they didn't know where to put him. He was under 18. And so that got our minds focused. We reckoned it was unfair to bring people away just once a year for a Homeless World Cup tournament and then just leave them. So with that in mind, we went around knocking on doors, and Dublin City Council, fair play to them, were responsive to us, and he set us up with a pilot project down on Sheriff Street.
And this was 2004?
Yeah. So from that on, then it kind of moved forward. We reckoned because the team was representing Ireland, he should get full international caps. So we issued our own caps, and that brought a reaction from the FAI who said we can't be doing that. So they said, okay, you deserve your caps, which the lads do. They're representing Ireland. So everyone that participates in the Homeless World Cup gets full international caps.
Yeah.
But as I say, it's not just all about sport. It's about building self-esteem, self-confidence, self-discipline, which is all the attributes that you need to move on in life, and which sport imbues on people. And it gives you them interpersonal skills. You're part of a team network. So it builds up a whole little social network itself.
Yeah, because 2003, actually, that team, I think I read an interview from about 3 years later where you were speaking, and at least 3 of the players had actually found gainful employment afterwards. So there was that actual benefit as well.
Oh,
In terms of the steps that follow, like once a player comes back from the World Cup, what's the general kind of traditional kind of pathway in terms of getting, moving on from the sporting side to integration back into society?
Well, what we do is we facilitate access to the various people that can help them move on into jobs or that can help them in any way. We act as a signpost. We don't actually, haven't got the facilities or we haven't got the finances to engage in that. But what we do, we point them in the right direction. Now, a lot of our guys have gone back to education. We 4 went back to university that I can think of offhand, and they're all working within the homeless industry well, I shouldn't say industry, but in the homeless, helping people. One of them graduated from Maynooth College there, is working with the Farrell McNeill organisation. There's another fellow in charge of a drug rehabilitation centre down in Limerick, and another guy re-engaged with his family, has access to his children now. He's manager of a community sports centre. So there's all kinds of benefits like that. People have got jobs, people have re-engaged with the family, and they've generally moved on. Now, not every story is a success story, but even if just one person makes a success of their life, think of the difference that makes to them, their community, their friends, their family, and society at large. So it's a win-win situation.
Yeah, and I think the statistic from the Homeless World Cup actually on their website, as they point out, having done surveys, 94% have actually found some positive benefit, and I'm sure you can both attest to that as well.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Football is one of the few outlooks that you have that you can remember from a child. So for Sean to be able to provide spaces for people coming from addiction, either from addiction or still in addiction, to come and play. Sport is always the one thing that you can remember as being a kid, is enjoyment.
Were you always kind of into football from like the first moment you can kind of remember?
Any sport.
Yeah.
Soccer, golf, rugby, anything. Just anything to give me a chance to be free.
Yeah.
Because the rest of it wasn't freedom.
And Tara, was the same for yourself? Kind of sport was always something that was part of your life anyway?
Yeah, from a young age, like I would have went, my father and my brothers would have been heavily involved in sports, so I would have went and supported my brothers. But like, I would have done started out doing an FAI course in my teens. Yeah. And because of issues, like I became pregnant very young, so I stopped doing that, so yeah. Yeah,
there's something I think in terms of the overall issue of homelessness as well that I maybe wanted to get to kind of touch on with you, was maybe the idea of isolation, because sport actually helps solve that issue up to a point. But maybe to even give us a bit of an example, like at the worst stages, say when you're sleeping rough, and it is an isolating experience in a given week, how often would you even have a meaningful conversation with somebody?
Never.
So you're kind of on your own for the most part.
It doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Even when you're with loads of people, there's no meaningful conversations. It's just all nonsense.
Yeah, because I think you mentioned something about like social skills and things. You almost need to keep working on them now, and it's part of that. It's like I know for me, like it was a major thing for me, the soccer in itself, to be able to. When I came into recovery, I started playing football with the lads on a Friday, and it was a big thing for me. It took me 2 weeks to get the courage to go down initially to the girls, because I had a trust issue with females, just that kind of bringing up a lot of stuff, thinking I wasn't good enough, and and the lads I played with, I had came through the detox unit with them, so I kind of had a trust in them, but it was kind of a big thing. But once I went down, sure. So it's 2 years now, like going down, every Saturday and all, and still going down, even when we came back, it's I needn't have worries, because the girls they're just like myself. But when you're coming from that place and you don't know, you're coming from
your trust would be a major thing, and like that you're isolated and, you know, that kind of thing. But the friendships and all, and the support down there, like from teammates and staff, like, do you know, that kind of way. It's I can see, people can see in me like that, me confidence even down in the pitch, the way I even interact with me teammates even, you know, it's changed so much, and from day one to now, like, you know, that kind of way.
Yeah.
So,
and it'd be kind of, I guess, that thing of actually just having a normal chat in between, like, the tasty tackles that are going on and everything else, I'm sure.
A laugh, like, we go down there, like, you know, even now, like, when we get together, it's like we've never been apart, but you know, the laugh we do have, like, it's I have to say, you know, it's great, like, you know, you're getting to do what you love. Yeah. You're getting out, you're having a game, but then you're getting to, like, be with people, and, you know, and it's a support network, like, you know, even, you know, if you're not playing football, like, you still have you have people that you can phone, or, you know, like, it's a completely different change of course, circumstance, environment as well. Yeah, just to have, because I guess maybe not everyone's going to actually understand that 100%, because they won't have found themselves in that situation where they're on their own, where they're, you know, I suppose they don't have access to other people. Like, and the girls are, like, everyone is mindful of where everyone has come from. Like, we all have different, you know, like, experiences or what have you, you know, that kind of way. But so helpful, like, do you know what I mean? You needn't have worries, because when you're down there, you're just part of, there's no differences, like, do you know, that kind of way. It's like, they're so helpful, you know, that kind of way. Because I know, like, you know, when you're kind of out there homeless, you know, one of the memories for me is being kind of sitting on, you always felt obviously below people, but I can remember sitting on the path one day and saying, like, looking at people and wanting to be that person, to be able to get up and go to work in the morning. And it's very, you know what I mean, like, people say, why don't you just go and get it? The more you're in homes, you sink deeper and deeper, and it's harder to kind of get back out into that, you know, like, you know, and you often hear people say, you know, if you see someone kind of come down to their level and speak to them, maybe, you know, like, you know, and, you know, sometimes that does help as well, you know, kind of way, because you're kind of like... Yeah. So did you kind of find the people were generally, I mean, as you kind of talk about people trying to come down to that level, were they kind of generally hostile, or was it almost like an invisibility?
Definitely an invisibility. They'd never acknowledge you, never look at you, never... It was like that you're something floating on the ground that you need to step over and avoid. Yeah. And the impact that has on yourself, on your own emotions, on your own self-worth, is soul-destroying. Yeah. And obviously you both play in the Pearse Street Leagues. Then to have the street leagues that Sean Kavanagh has been heavily involved in, and you're able to go once a week or whenever the training is, and you have that sense of there's something on the horizon at least I can look forward to. I mean, that must be a huge positive. Even after we played, we still believe that, both me and Tara, it's about giving back to what Sean has provided for us. And not enough people are doing it, and not enough people are supporting it. Yeah. Like, I'm leaving here and going training with the new team that's heading over to Mexico. Yeah. I'm going over, I'm funding myself to go over to support them and help them in one day, because I believe truly in giving back the... Like, Sean may think he knows what he's done for us, but we know in our hearts and how we feel about ourselves because of the football, what he's provided. It's not just a game of football. Yeah. It's not an Ireland Cup. It's not winning a trophy. It's self-worth, it's belief. It's as you're playing football, you kind of figure out who you are and what you believe in. It's nearly like counselling. Yeah. You
get your family ties back, like, you know, like, I know the football is the one thing that is at there, you know, bringing me back with my father, like, you know, when we were in the Mansion House, able to come there and able to, you know, and it's the only thing we can kind of talk about. We still have that kind of thing in common, you know, that kind of way, but that was the first thing in over 25 years that he was able to be present in my life for, was, you know, so that was huge.
Yeah, hugely positive. And I mean, just kind of reading about your stories, I guess there's always kind of an epiphany moment that kind of leads you to try and find a way out of your current situation. I think you woke up on Store Street one morning, and that was kind of like the moment that was kind of like a spark for you, and then that led you on the road towards you know, finding services that would help you, and then obviously getting into sport as well.
The sport, like, I have to say, you know, it's like that thing down there, you know, back in the day, like, I would have loved football, and it was left there kind of, and then not knowing, are you ever going to get it back? Like at my age, where would you, like, people don't play football at my age, and to be given that opportunity, like, you know, and I would have been afraid back in the day to kind of say that I was okay for like a girl that could play, and obviously I hadn't played for 25 years, and to be able to be given that chance and to finally be able to prove even to yourself that you knew you were able to, you know, like, but, you know, you knew you were good, but be afraid to admit it, and not to be able to play, like, since I think I was 17 when I stopped playing, like, so 25 years in the making, like, but I came full circle, like, and here I am in recovery, able to get out there singing, like, where would you get, like, singing a national anthem, like, you know, and representing your country, like, I mean to say, it's surreal, kind of say, this doesn't happen, like, you know, like, it's, or,
every child has a dream. If they play sports, to play for the country. Yeah. Because of Sean, we fulfilled ours. And it doesn't matter what sport, you always dream of putting on the green jersey for your country.
What's that sense? Because maybe to compare that idea of invisibility you're talking about, and then when the anthem comes on, and it's almost like that confirmation you are part of society. It's actually probably one of the best confirmations of it.
In the moment, you know, I got emotional through the national anthem, because I still couldn't believe while I was there that I was here representing my country, and how powerful it meant and how encouraging it was for me to actually be given the opportunity to do it. Because doesn't any man or girl that has played football as a child, even in their 50s, that dream of having that opportunity to wear that jersey, that doesn't go.
Yeah.
It's something that's instilled in you from a child, and it's probably the only thing that coming through addiction or anything that started as a dream, because everything else turned into a nightmare.
Yeah, because I think, and I actually had a quote that I saw you mentioned before, which shows maybe where you'd kind of come from towards getting to play for your country. And I'm sure I'll just actually read the line to you. Maybe you can just tell us a little bit about it. But I was either going to get the boat to die in England, or I was going to go to Narcotics Anonymous. And was that kind of the spark for you?
Yeah, I had a fight with my doctor. He wouldn't detox me. So I walked out my clinic and walked from Clondalkin into town. And the choice, when I got to town, to go straight to get the boat was a whole lot easier than going to a meeting. Coming from addiction into recovery, people don't understand how frightening it is. It's not like, oh, just stop. Because you've suppressed all your hurts and pains with drugs. Now you're coming into it to all of a sudden have it all thrown in on top of you. All your shames, your guilt, all your pain. Your mind is a terrible place. It will destroy you. And with the addiction, it will gladly try.
Yeah. And for you, Sean, as well, because you meet a number of players and people who are involved in those circumstances, then I guess from the outside looking in, you also kind of, you note the change that happens in the impact that sport, and particularly football, and this being involved in these kind of teams have as well. I mean, is it something you kind of see gradually, or is there kind of like moments sometimes where you can pick it up?
It's a gradual process, but for some it's different for each person.
Yeah.
But you can see certain people have something within them that they just need that break, and the football acts as a catalyst, and but it does make significant changes. There's no doubt about it. Being involved in sport, and possibly there should be more emphasis on that with all the problems that are going on with mental health issues and all. If kids got more involved in sport instead of playing on wherever they play on these things, but that should be the motivation, and I think there should be more money put into it. And it's not about winning all the time. It's the involvement. It's the interaction. I do find, I think at kids' level, there's too much emphasis placed on winning.
Yeah, I think that's exactly.
All individuality has gone out of it.
I think that's one of the big questions we're talking about now in terms of how do we develop our leading soccer players, and the question marks, I think, from other countries. They don't emphasise winning, and I think that's the point obviously you're trying to make there. But
you can see it. I can see it particularly in the inner city, because all kids grew up on the street and are playing street football, and the creativity in that play is fantastic.
It's the purest form of the game.
And they're so comfortable on the ball, and you go out, and I've seen it with schoolboy teams. You go out and the coaches are shouting at them, "Don't be doing that! Don't be doing this!" It's all "don't be doing." So they're stifled. and they get disenchanted with the game, and then they disappear and they go back to playing with their computers and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So maybe there needs to be a refocus on how they coach kids. It's different when you get to a higher level, you get into your teens, then you can see the logic in some of the coaching. But when you're a young kid, you just want to play football and you want to express yourself.
Yeah.
And there should be more emphasis placed on that.
And certainly, and actually, even looking at the matches in the Homeless World Cup, it's obviously small-sided games, which is the most intense and skillful form of the game as well, because you're having to do things like within a millisecond. You don't have the space of a wide pitch to boot, long balls or whatever it is, and
there's no hiding on.
No, there's no hiding. There's no hiding.
It's an intense 7 minutes each way, and if you watch that live, not on television, it doesn't do it justice, but if you watch it live, you wouldn't be bothered watching a Premiership match after because it's so intense. And the skill levels at the World Cup, there's about 20 teams at a higher level, and the skill levels are tremendous. It's fantastic to watch. But it's also very competitive, very intense, but at the end of it, it's very sportsman. There's a great deal of sportsmanship, and everybody is friends, and it's something that it fills your heart with kind of a warm feeling to see it, and it's something everyone, if they get the opportunity, they should go and see.
Yeah, in terms of the training you do and to prepare for that, especially the mental side of the game, because it is so quick and you don't have as much space, what are the main things you focus on in training?
I have to say, to train and be very good, because it's good discipline as well, how you're eating, you're sleeping, and then getting ready obviously for training. You're not going to eat a big greasy fry before you go up and do a bit of training, and we'd get tips off the coach, kind of telling us. I know for me, it got me into a great habit. I think I have to say it was the fittest I'd ever been. Do you know the kind of way? Very, very fit. The levels of fitness is amazing. And the feeling though, that feeling, just know you gave your all and you pushed yourself to, you know what I mean? It's mentally, physically, emotionally, I have to say, you do feel the benefits,
And you do a bit of boxing, don't you, in the gym as well, don't you? Yeah. Obviously, it's not being used in that way on the football field.
No.
Not that kind of off the wall work. But is it a benefit, actually, in terms of, obviously, they're two very different sports, but do you kind of use certain elements, even the footwork side of it, for when you're playing football?
When I'm playing football, it's just really kind of... I suppose in Jordan's that would have been kind of and just to get me overall fit, that's how Yeah.
And how about yourself as well, in terms of the training and the especially the small-sided side of the game, because it is very quick and very intense.
As a goalkeeper playing on it, it's the pressure that you're under, knowing that mistakes, but with the training that we were brought, most of the situations that I came up against, we practice and train, getting an understanding of your footwork, your position, your moving from side to side. People think, you're in goal, you're not really doing much.
Yeah.
You spend 14 minutes constantly moving side to side, and you'll feel it in your legs.
I always think it's the most unfortunate position on the pitch, because you can look good 99% of the time, and then one mistake.
There's 3 mistakes that I can remember that nearly haunt me still to this day. But it's all right. Coming down and helping training with the lads, and we won the play. It wasn't about winning a trophy for me. It was about the camaraderie that I had with my teammates, and with Sean, with Tucker, with Thomas, John Dowell, and the people that were there. That's what it was about for me. And that is something that'll live with me forever.
And obviously you're meeting a lot of people from around the world as well, which is actually another benefit maybe that we don't even think about. So you probably learn things from whatever countries you're facing. I know you're competitive on the field against them, but are there any kind of examples that you would have picked up from other countries as well, and other people from other countries?
Watching the Indonesian team, I became very humble. Just unbelievable group of lads you are. I only got a message off one of them today that I asked, there was a earthquake over there. And I was just checking that he was okay. He said, no problem, brother.
I heard they have a handy goalkeeper as well who's quite...
he'd missing his knee, from his knee down on one leg, and missing his foot.
But a really good keeper.
Iman is his name. Unbelievable. And just to see the humility that he have is just unbelievable. Just didn't really have much, but they loved life.
Which is the most important thing.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, and obviously you're taking some of that in as well, and obviously learning from that.
You make friendships. Like, I've made friendships. Like, I talked to some of them in Amsterdam, some of them in Scotland. I've been to Scotland since I've been back, and friendships from all over, I suppose.
Yeah. I think you were joking, because I know some players did go off to play in Chile, I think, and you'd ended up going to Glasgow, which was just a little bit closer and not quite as sunny.
I think the last 3 or 4 goalkeepers before me were my friends.
Yeah.
David Bourne, he went to Mexico. He went to Chile, David Trainer.
Yes,
I think.
Well, the shorts.
Well,
it's a good football city.
I got stick over it, but at the end of the day, I don't mind, because
the experience wasn't lessened by it.
Like, we only this year we had a mascot that came out onto the pitch. His family came over. It was in my house this year.
Oh, nice.
So, and when we travelled up the north, they came over to see us and also.
Yeah. And in terms of what happens after you come back from a World Cup, I know you help a lot of people with things like copper engraving and things. So how did you kind of find yourself on that path and road to...
I tried. My dad taught me when I was a child. I'd done it once or twice when I was a kid, and then kind of little bits grown up, and then everything else took over, and that went out the window. And when I came into recovery this time, I was in a CE scheme. I have my level 8 or level 4 in maths, level 3 and 4 in maths and English done 8 times in all the different CE schemes or things that I was in.
Yeah.
So these just allowed me to kind of, they seen that I was working on in between while doing it, level 3, level 4 English and maths. I was doing copper work just to kind of, because I tried mindfulness, I tried meditation, I tried just stresses me out a bit.
But you kind of find working with your hands is a calming...
unbelievable.
Yeah.
So I go into the hostels and I teach other addicts, and I love working with addicts. Probably the most honest people you'll meet when you get talking to them. When they gain your trust, and they are very honest. Just like to see people come in and not think about drugs for 2 hours.
Yeah.
And I love it.
It's very good.
I have an exhibition, my own stuff, next week out in League Slip Library on the 3rd of November.
Yeah.
I was meant to bring something in to show you, but I'm heading off to training now after this.
Which is the most important thing, given you're representing the country very, very shortly. And Tara, for yourself, actually, when you came back then from Norway as well, in terms of making the step back into society, how difficult did you find it, or what was kind of the most helpful thing?
When we came back, it's kind of like we were told, just to keep in contact and things like that, because like anything else, you have to be on a high, and you come back, you can, it's like when you after being away or what have you. But it was just kind of like getting back down back into the swings, and I was just kind of, I think we were only back about a week or so, and we had another tournament in the Phoenix Park actually, so. And just keeping that contact with people, that kind of way, which we have done, it's just important to stay connected, I suppose, and it was amazing, even coming back, the people meeting us in the airport, even your family's coming out, it was just amazing, that kind of way, it really was, it takes a while for it to sink in as well, it's just unbelievable.
It's very heartwarming, I'd say, when you walk out of those airport doors and then, you've a crowd of people, and I'm sure they have the Irish flags and there's a lot of green and stuff there.
It's interesting.
Half them people probably would have waved you off a couple of years ago, and said, good luck, and now here they are, open arms, welcoming you home.
Yeah.
That's reality of it,
Yeah. And I'm sure you've had the same experience as well, coming out and...
Yeah, it's as nervy as playing in front of a crowd, because generally half of these people that are coming out, you've done things on them that normally they don't forgive you, and to see how football opens their heart to you, it's very powerful.
Yeah, it is. And I suppose, Sean, in terms of the fundraising side of things, and how challenging is it? I mean, to actually bring a team every year and actually to run the street leagues as well.
Well, it's massively challenging.
Yeah.
you know, we set a target of what we would need ideally to run it properly would be around 80,000. Now we get a fraction of that. So we're constantly fundraising. And what it means is you can't move it on the way you'd like to move it on because you're just firefighting, trying to get money up to go with Mexico in this instance. We couldn't bring a girls team this year because we hadn't got the money. Yeah. We've a load of volunteers, and every one of us I have a full-time job, so it's very hard combining both.
Yeah, both. Yeah.
And the street leads and homeless is like a full-time job because not a day goes through that you're not dealing with something. Yeah. But the biggest problem is getting money. And we have a GoFundMe page now at the minute, which if anyone wants to contribute. And
that's on the IrishStreetLeagues.com website as well, isn't it?
Yeah, it's on the you'll get it on our Facebook page.
Yeah, okay.
But at the moment, as a way of kind of heightening our profile and maybe get people interested in what we're doing, we're in the process of putting together a bid to host the Homeless World Cup in Ireland. Yeah. We're going around now at the moment garnering political support behind that. And then we'll look at maybe getting commercial sponsors. But if there's anyone interested in coming on board, get in touch with us because it's something that we'd really like to do and it's something that would be good for the country to see and to participate in. So that'd be our ultimate goal. But as I say, finance is a problem. We'd love to have 80,000 a year. We don't. It costs 81,000 to keep one person in prison for a year. How productive is that? Yeah. But that's that's what we're up against. But
did you know the change around the time of the recession in terms of the fundraising challenges, and maybe has it picked up since? Or?
Pre 2007 it was easier. Yeah. After that it was a grind. Yeah. It's every penny counts. Yesterday we were at some students at Across College did a cake bake sale for us and raised 500 euro, which is great. And we went out there and did a little talk and explained that probably exposed them to things they would never be exposed to. But, little things like that helps tremendously,
And I guess because it is an issue that people are talking about, especially around winter time as well, I think it ends up the papers tend to pick up on it a bit more. Maybe there should be actually more of a year-round thing that there should be focus on it. But with the increase in the actual homeless figures as well, I think the figure for August 20 to 26th across the country, and this is from the Department of Housing, it's 5,834 people. That's not even counting other statistics that might not be included in it, and that's an 18% increase from last year. So are you noting more people kind of coming to use your services because of that, or
we're in the street league and we're in the big issue. There's more people coming in. There is a perception out there that homelessness could happen to anybody. Yeah. Well, to a large degree, that's wrong because it manifests itself in deprived areas all the time. The chance of being homeless if you come from Dublin 4 is remote. The chance of being homeless if you come from Uplandalkin or Ballymun is right up there. So, it tends to manifest itself in deprived areas, and it's because, it's probably the education needs to be funded at primary school level because it perpetuates itself. You have people come into a family, the father hasn't worked, their mother got pregnant young, and it goes on because people are isolated in that little cocoon and there's no they don't see a way out. Maybe we should all take note. Maybe if somebody came along tomorrow, say a politician with the idea that I'm going to solve all this, everyone would say, oh, it's great, I'm going to make the health service better, I'm going to make the homeless situation better. Everyone say, oh, that's great. Then you turn around and say, right, well, I'm going to have to increase taxes. I'm going to have to put a pay freeze. And then people say, oh, no, I'm not having that. But that's the choices people make. But you can't keep coming around then and blaming successive governments for not putting money in because people vote them in. Yeah. And then they say, oh, well, I didn't. You have to make the choices. You have to maybe get people who represent you to represent all of you, all what you want. And maybe then you'll have the ideal society. Yeah. But until, we make those hard choices, I can't see it really changing a lot.
And if there's kind of 2 or 3 key things that you'd like to see change, maybe not even so much at governmental level, but that you'd like to see implemented, you think maybe actually would be good solutions, what would they be?
Well, I'd like to see more emphasis placed on primary education. I'd like to see more emphasis placed on sporting activities, and I'd like to see emergency measures put in to solve the homeless crisis.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, their thing, it's like a war situation, as it were. You need emergency measures. And I know a lot of it goes back to the recession when there was no money there. But we have to make the choice: do we want to put the money into it? Do we really want to solve it? And then if we do, then the money has to come out somewhere else. And that's the reality of it.
Yeah, and I guess just to kind of finish off, obviously, as I said at the top, the World Cup is coming up. You're practicing heavily for this now in Mexico. Obviously, clearly looking forward to it.
I won't be playing. You're only allowed playing once.
Oh.
So the new team that is picked, they need a second goalkeeper to play against.
Yeah.
So I go down. I'm going out to support them.
Yeah.
Because as I said, for what Sean and Tucker and John Dowling and Thomas Morgan done for me, I can never repay them.
Yeah.
So every little bit that I can, I try.
Yeah.
That's the joy of the World Cup, is that you can only represent your country once.
Yeah. So
but that opens it up to
other people. Yeah.
So if you don't make it this year, like John was 5 years in the Street League before he made it. So it shows that if you have the determination, you'll get the reward at the end of it. But it helps people stick with the programme as well.
Yeah, and you've had some good results as well. I think the year you played, you beat, I think there was like Costa Rica, there was the USA, loads of them. So how are you fixed coming up against this year's competitors?
We have an excellent team this year. Thomas Morgan, who's our coach, he played for Ireland, and he's an excellent rapport with the lads. But we have an excellent side. But the standard goes up every year.
Yeah,
like in Mexico, they've something like 20,000 Street League players. You know, so that's the kind. They've loads of money. Scotland have loads of money behind them. Northern Ireland have loads of money. We're doing this on a shoestring. Yeah. So it's amazing the results we're getting year after year. But that'll tell you the commitment of the people involved and the standard of football players that there is here. And if they were nurtured in a proper way, we'd have a proper international side, not one that plays with such negativity.
Yeah, and I believe in the actual Mexico City where this is taking place, it's a Zócalo or something. I think it's like an iconic place.
It's the square in Mexico City. If you ever saw I think it was the James Bond movie, the last one, or the one before that, there's a big scene in Mexico City in the square where he's been chased by a helicopter, blah, blah, blah. That's all in this big square. It's a huge big square right in the centre. Yeah. The great thing about the World Cup, it's always in a location in a city centre. So you get all the footfall, all the people coming in. They know, most of them don't know what it's about, and then they come in and it's mesmerising, they can't leave it. Yeah. So it's great street involvement and people involvement.
Yeah, it's funny how often James Bond gets chased by helicopters or whatever it is. So that's why I can't even think what film it is. But he's always been
recent one.
He's always been chased by something,
the last two,
and always mysteriously getting away. Before I actually let you go, John and Tara, maybe if you want, maybe just tell us in terms of the experience of playing in this World Cup, the biggest takeaway for each of you.
Pride in myself.
Yeah.
Definitely. As I was saying, to fulfil a dream, nobody can take that away from me, no matter what happens to me in my future. I have that. I have it in my heart how much that means to me.
Yeah. And Tara?
Yeah, like just to be, as I said earlier, like that when kind of down, afraid to show that kind of talent and to be able to get to have that dream, I suppose, that kind of way. And but I probably think the major thing for me would have been my family, because I could see the pride in them. That kind of really brought my
probably
family.
Means more coming from people who are closer than.
Yeah, like I really, brought my family, my family of origin, my brothers and sisters, my father, it brought us together, really bridged that gap back to, normal kind of living with me and them. Yeah. That was the kind of one thing that brought us together.
Yeah, no, well, that's brilliant, and that's obviously the main takeaway, more than actual victories, trophies, etc. That's the real victory. Well, all I can say, John, thanks for coming in. Tara, thanks for coming in, and Sean, especially as well. Thank you for coming in, and kudos to all the work you've done over the last few years on this issue, actually setting up the street leagues and keeping it going. And we'll actually, whatever web posts we put out and whatever social media we put out, we'll make sure there's a link to the fundraising page as well, because it's obviously important to give as much help as possible. So thanks for listening in.